You've felt it before. That moment when you know exactly what you should do, and you do the opposite anyway. You reach for the snack. You skip the workout. You scroll for one more minute. It feels like a small failure. But the real answer is far stranger. Somewhere in your ancestry, there was a version of you who could not afford to fail like this. Not even once. And the discipline that version of you carried was so extreme, so relentless, that if you saw it today, you would probably call it inhuman. Picture a man walking alone across open grassland. No water bottle. No shoes. No weapon that can kill from a distance. Just his legs, his eyes, and a single antelope somewhere ahead of him. He is not faster than the antelope. He is not stronger. He cannot catch it in a sprint. So what does he do? He simply refuses to stop. This is called persistence hunting, and it may be one of the oldest disciplines humans ever practiced. The animal sprints, exhausts itself, rests. The man keeps walking. Not running. Walking, at a pace he can sustain for hours, sometimes an entire day, through heat that would kill most other predators. The antelope's body overheats faster than his does, because of one trait almost no other animal on Earth shares with you: sweat glands covering nearly your entire body. Anthropologist Louis Liebenberg spent years documenting this hunting method among the San people of the Kalahari, and what he found wasn't just a hunting technique. It was a psychological weapon. The hunter had to outsuffer the animal. Hour after hour. No shortcuts. No stopping to rest when the body screamed to stop. Think about what that actually requires. Every muscle burning. Every instinct pulling toward shade, toward water, toward rest. And a mind trained to override all of it, for hours, without a single moment of relief. There was no half-time. No finish line marked on the ground. Just distance, heat, and a decision made over and over again: keep going. That instinct didn't disappear when the hunt ended. It's still in you. Now fast forward tens of thousands of years, into a laboratory at Stanford University in the late 1960s. A psychologist named Walter Mischel sits a 4-year-old child at a table. In front of the child, a marshmallow. The rule is simple. Eat it now, or wait 15 minutes and get 2. The researcher leaves the room. A hidden camera records everything. Some children eat the marshmallow in seconds. Others do something remarkable. They look away. They cover their eyes. They talk to themselves. They sit on their hands. They are, without knowing it, doing exactly what that hunter on the savannah once did. Fighting their own body's demand for immediate relief. Mischel followed these children for decades. The ones who could wait, who could delay that reward, tended to score higher on later academic tests, manage stress more effectively, and struggle less with impulse control as adults. But here's the part most people get wrong about that experiment. It was never really about marshmallows. It was about a war that has been running inside the human brain since long before laboratories existed. A war between the part of you built for right now, and the part of you built for later. Why does that war feel so exhausting? Because it actually is. In the early 2000s, psychologist Roy Baumeister ran a series of experiments that gave us the term ego depletion. In one study, participants sat in a room with a bowl of fresh cookies and a bowl of radishes. Half were told to eat only the radishes, resisting the tempting cookies right in front of them. Afterward, both groups attempted an unsolvable puzzle. The radish group, the ones who had spent their willpower resisting temptation, gave up far sooner. Their self-control had been used like fuel, and it was running low. Baumeister's early conclusions have since been debated and refined by later researchers, but the core discovery still holds up in a different form. Discipline is not free. It costs something. Every time you resist the urge to scroll, snooze, or quit, you're spending a resource your ancestors evolved to conserve, not waste on things like emails and diet plans. So think about that hunter again. No cookies. No radishes. Just heat, thirst, and a fading trail of footprints. He wasn't managing willpower for a marshmallow. He was managing it for survival. And his brain had no idea the difference between an ancient hunt and a modern deadline. It still treats both the same way. This is where it gets stranger. The people history remembers as the most disciplined humans who ever lived weren't just resisting temptation. They were training their bodies to stop asking. In ancient Sparta, boys as young as 7 were taken from their homes and placed into a state education system called the agoge. They were underfed on purpose. Deliberately. The goal wasn't cruelty for its own sake. It was to force children to solve problems, including stealing food, without getting caught. Historians studying Spartan society note that the entire structure was designed around one outcome: a citizen whose obedience to discipline was so deep it no longer felt like effort. It felt like identity. Imagine growing up never fully trusting comfort. Never assuming the next meal was guaranteed. Every small hardship treated as training, not misfortune. It sounds brutal to modern ears, and in many ways it was. But it reveals something uncomfortable about human potential. Discipline, pushed far enough, stops feeling like restraint. It becomes the default setting. That's the terrifying part, isn't it? At a certain level, discipline stops being a fight. It becomes who you are. There's a biological reason this transformation is even possible. Neuroscientists studying self-control point to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, delaying gratification, and overriding impulse. It's one of the last regions to fully mature, often not finishing development until your mid-20s. This is partly why a 4-year-old struggles to resist a marshmallow while an adult, most of the time, can. But maturity alone doesn't explain the hunter, or the Spartan, or the modern endurance athlete. Something else is happening. Repetition appears to physically strengthen the neural pathways involved in resisting impulse, the same way walking the same trail over and over eventually wears a path into the earth. Discipline, in other words, is not just a decision. It's a groove you carve into your own brain, one repetition at a time. That reframes the entire question, doesn't it? The people who seem naturally disciplined were never simply born that way. They walked the trail enough times that it stopped feeling like effort. You can see fragments of this today, and they usually unsettle people the first time they witness it. Ultra-endurance athletes who run for over 24 hours straight, vomiting, hallucinating, and continuing anyway. Free divers who train their bodies to hold perfectly still underwater while every cell screams for oxygen. Monks who sit motionless in meditation for so long their joints lock, refusing to move even as pain builds. None of these people are superhuman. Their brains send the exact same panic signals yours would send. The difference is what happens after the signal arrives. Most of us hear the signal and obey it instantly. Hungry, so eat. Tired, so stop. Uncomfortable, so quit. But somewhere between the persistence hunter and the modern endurance athlete, humans discovered something unsettling about their own minds. The signal is not the same thing as the truth. Hunger is not starvation. Discomfort is not danger. Wanting to stop is not the same as needing to stop. Why does this matter to you, sitting wherever you are right now, nowhere near a hunt or a battlefield? Because your brain still runs the old software. It still treats a difficult workout, a hard conversation, or an unfinished task as a small-scale version of that ancient chase. The urge to quit early feels enormous, feels like self-preservation, when it's often just an outdated alarm going off at the wrong time. There's a strange twist to all of this, though. The modern world didn't remove the need for that ancient discipline. It just changed what you're chasing. Instead of an antelope across open grassland, you're chasing a deadline, a habit, a version of yourself you keep almost becoming. And instead of heat and thirst, the resistance now comes disguised as convenience. A notification that interrupts your focus. A delivery app that removes the effort from hunger. A feed engineered, quite deliberately, to reward the part of your brain that wants relief right now, not later. Every scroll is a tiny marshmallow, eaten instantly, without even noticing the choice was made. That's not an accident. Researchers studying digital behavior have pointed out that many modern platforms are built around the exact same mechanism Michel tested in that Stanford room, just optimized at scale. Immediate reward, engineered to beat delayed reward, every single time, unless something in you intervenes. So what does intervene? Not motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable, especially under stress or fatigue. What intervenes is closer to what that hunter had. A decision made in advance, before the hard moment arrives, so that when the body starts negotiating, there's nothing left to negotiate. The workout isn't optional. The walk doesn't stop at the first wave of exhaustion. The task doesn't get abandoned the moment it turns uncomfortable. The people who train themselves to sit with that alarm, and keep moving anyway, are not built differently from you. They've simply practiced it, over and over, the same way that hunter practiced walking through heat his body begged him to escape. Discipline was never about being fearless or feeling nothing. It was about continuing to move while feeling everything. And maybe that's the real difference between the version of you that gives in, and the version of you that doesn't. Not strength. Not willpower as some fixed trait you either have or lack. Just repetition. Every small refusal to stop, compounding, the same way every step across that ancient grassland compounded into a hunt that ended in survival. So the next time you feel that small, quiet urge to stop, to eat the marshmallow, to skip the walk, to rest early, remember what that urge actually is. It's not weakness. It's an ancient signal, inherited from a version of you that once had to choose between comfort and survival every single day. The real answer isn't strange at all, in the end. It was inside you the entire time.